Alright everybody, here's a little bonus lesson on a kind of, let's say, qualitative supervised classification that you can do pretty simply in GIMP. In fact, I'm going to show you two kinds of very simple supervised classification in GIMP. Now, this is not going to be as rigorous or as quantitatively powerful as what we could do in something like grass, but what it is fast and easy, right? And that's always good. So as you can see, I'm in GIMP here, and I have that quick bird image of Wadi Kuseba loaded up, the one that we were working with when we were doing qualitative imagery analysis, where we're setting the color thresholds and the histogram stretches and the edge detects and all of that kind of stuff. So basically we're going to kind of extend on some of that stuff with some of these new ideas that we just talked about in our unsupervised classification tutorial just a minute ago. And what we're going to do is to use the color information, kind of like multiband imagery, to help separate some parts of this image from other parts of the image. And the first tool, we're going to use two tools to attempt to do this. The first one is the simplest one. It's this one that says Select by Color Tool, right? So you click on it, and you get just a couple of things over here. You get a threshold, you get a few little check boxes over here, and you get a select by, and then you can do each individual band, red, green, blue. You could also do the hue, saturation, and luminosity value. Or you can do composite, which is RGB altogether, a multi-band composite. So let's just do that. So let's click on a green thing. And you can see basically what it did is to try and find other things that were the same value of green. Now it's just using the one pixel that we clicked on to do that. So it's going to be a little difficult to classify. So you can see if you move the threshold up, all of a sudden I'm selecting more things than I want. So let's put that back down and click on another piece of green. So what you can do is you play with that threshold, and then to play, maybe it's better just to select the green band, right? And click in here. Oh, that's not good, right? So bring the threshold down a little bit, do it again, right? Maybe it's better to go back to the composite. So you can see basically how if you click around, you find a nice pixel that matches a bunch of the other pixels, you can do this. And at this point, what you can do is you can copy just the areas that are selected, and you can paste as new image, and you can barely see it, but there's little green smudges here. So if I put a little white layer below it, you'll actually be able to see that a little easier. See, right? So I basically copied out all those areas that were selected into a new image, right? So that's kind of cool. It's kind of similar to the threshold that we did before, which is kind of neat. In fact, we could actually now apply a threshold to turn this into a black and white image like that, and there we go. We could turn that into a map. It's not the greatest, right? There's some of the patterning, but we're missing a bunch of stuff, right? So if you want to do a big area, this is your best bet, and you'll have to play around with the threshold values and a few of the other things that we were messing with over here in order to get the best result possible. But say we wanted to do something different. So let me just deselect everything. Say we really just wanted to get one field, or maybe just this compound, and we didn't care about the other things. So if we tried the color select tool, and let's just try to do the compound. All right, let me increase the threshold, and we do it again, and then all of a sudden we're selecting stuff out here that we actually don't want. Well, there's actually a special tool for that, which is called the foreground select tool, and this is a sort of more advanced kind of supervised training routine. Again, it's only going to pull out one thing, but it's more advanced than the select by similar color tool because you can give it training areas that are bigger than just one pixel. So the first thing you have to do is to use this lasso tool to draw a general polygon around the area of interest, right? And it'll essentially show you what you've selected, anything in here, and everything out here is just going to totally ignore. You can change the color that it highlights everything, red, green, blue, which may be more useful depending on whatever colored background you have over here. And then the next thing it gives you is a brush tool that you can use to actually build the training area. And you can actually increase the size of the brush or decrease the size of the brush over here. So let's say I just want to paint the inside of this compound, and all of a sudden what it does is it's taken whatever I painted and used that as the training areas for a supervised classification. You can see it did a pretty good job over there, but we need to maybe clean up just a little bit in these areas like that. And yeah, it's doing pretty good. Now that's the foreground. We can also mark things as background. So if I switch to that, it gives me this beige color, and I say no, I don't want any of this stuff in there, and hopefully it'll get smart and start to remove some additional background. Now these backgrounds are kind of similar to the inside, so you may have to do a lot of this kind of painting before you get it exactly the way you want. That's pretty good like that. Let me just paint this part out right here. Boom. Okay. So now if I hit enter, it translates that to a selection. So that's really cool. And I can, whoops, I need to redo foreground select, right? So that's really, really cool. So now what I can do is I can copy, which is what I was trying to do with Control C, and then I can paste as new image, and you can see it's just the compound. And now what's really cool, when I go to my, let's say my threshold, and I start to mess around with it, now I can actually make a cool map of the interior of just the compound, because I've just selected out the compound itself, and I can really make the walls pop, right? And if I wanted to map this, let's say this was a archaeological ruin, right? I wanted to map the walls. By zooming in and selecting just the area I wanted with this foreground select tool with the supervised classification, I can now do a much better job with my threshold tool than I would be able to do if I had the entire image in the background over there. Alright, so that's your little mini lesson on sort of qualitative supervised classification in GIMP. See you next week.